I knew the moment her eyes found mine that I should look away. I didn't. I never do. She was leaning against the edge of the kitchen counter, one hand resting on the rim of a wine glass she hadn't touched in minutes. A woman in her 40s, sure of herself in the way she carried silence. The kind of silence that makes you want to break it just to see what happens. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders, strands catching the amber light from the lamp behind her. I thought it was unfair how a room changed when she stepped into it, not louder, not brighter, but slower, like everything was suddenly paying attention. "You're staring," she said finally, without lifting her eyes from the glass. I swallowed. "You noticed." Now she looked at me, sharp, assessing, but not unkind. That look lingered too long for me to believe she was entirely bothered by it. I shifted closer, leaning my hand on the table between us, not touching her, just close enough to feel the electricity of the space we were sharing. Her breath caught, almost inaudible, but I caught it. "You're too bold," she said, half smiling as if she couldn't decide whether to push me away or let me fall deeper into her orbit. "And you," I murmured, "love every second of it." Her lips pressed together, hiding something, a laugh, maybe, or the urge to say something reckless. She tilted her head, her hair brushing against her cheek. That tiny, unintentional movement stole the air from my lungs. The silence thickened. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the soft tick of the clock on the wall, but they sounded too loud, like the world itself was warning me not to cross the line I was towing. My hand shifted on the table, fingers grazing the wood. Hers, still around the stem of the glass, flexed slightly. Just a fraction of movement, but it was enough to draw my focus like a magnet. She noticed. Her thumb traced the rim of the glass, slow, deliberate. She was teasing me without saying a word. I leaned forward. Close enough now to see the faint crease at the corner of her mouth when she tried not to smile. Close enough to feel the warmth coming off her skin, though we hadn't touched. "Why are you looking at me like that?" she asked softly, almost whispering, though her tone carried an edge of challenge. "Because you don't look away either," I said. Her laugh broke through, quiet, low in her throat. It wasn't mocking. It was something else. The kind of laugh that admits you've been caught but won't say it out loud. The glass in her hand shifted slightly, the stem tilting, and for a second I thought she might put it down. She didn't. Instead, she lifted it, but before sipping, her eyes stayed locked on mine. The air was hot. Not from the room, from her. From the way she stood too close yet not close enough. From the way her confidence trembled, just for a heartbeat, before sliding back into place. I wondered if she could hear how uneven my breathing had become. "You shouldn't," she started, but the sentence trailed off. Her eyes flicked toward the door. I turned my head just as the handle clicked. The door creaked open. And just like that, the moment shattered, but her eyes stayed on me. Unspoken. Unfinished. The door clicked shut again, footsteps fading down the hall, and the quiet returned, heavier than before, like it had been interrupted mid-breath. She still hadn't moved, hadn't broken eye contact. I could see it then, the flicker of something fragile under her composure. She set the glass down finally, fingers brushing against the counter, as if anchoring herself. "You're young," she said after a long pause, her tone steady but her eyes betraying hesitation. "Too young to be looking at me like that." I almost laughed, but I didn't. Instead, I stepped back half a pace, giving her the space she clearly wanted but hadn't asked for directly. "You make it sound like a crime." Her mouth curved, though it wasn't a smile. "People would think it is." The words hung there, daring me to acknowledge what neither of us wanted to name outright. 20-something men weren't supposed to look at women twice their age like they were oxygen. And women like her, women who carried themselves with that kind of grace, weren't supposed to let the attention linger. "I don't care what people think," I said quietly. Her eyes softened, and for a moment I saw the loneliness she carried. Not the loud kind, not the kind that begged for pity, but the quiet ache of nights gone too long with no one at the other end of the table. She had probably been loved once, maybe more than once, but not the way she deserved. I wanted to tell her that. Instead, I said nothing. She moved past me then, brushing by so close that her shoulder grazed my arm. It was nothing, barely a touch, but it left fire in its wake. My hand twitched at my side, the urge to catch hers, to hold it for just a second, almost unbearable. She stopped at the shelf, running her fingers along the spines of books without looking at any of them. "You'll get bored of this," she murmured, though I wasn't sure if she meant me or herself. "Try me," I said. Her breath itched. I heard it, though she tried to mask it with a quiet exhale. She turned slowly, and I caught the faint tremor in her hand as it rested against the wood of the shelf. Her eyes found mine again. There it was, the battle she was fighting with herself. She wanted to step back into safety, into distance, but her body betrayed her. She leaned just slightly forward, close enough that when she spoke, her breath brushed against my cheek. "You don't know what you're asking for," she whispered. My hand rose before I could stop it, fingers brushing against her arm, light enough to be excused as nothing. She didn't move away. The air stilled, thick with the weight of things unsaid. Her eyes darted down to where my hand lingered, then back up. She didn't speak, and I didn't either. But neither of us moved. Not away. Not yet. Her arm was still under my hand when the vibration broke the air. A sharp buzz, sudden and loud in the quiet. She flinched. Her phone, lighting up on the counter. She stepped back quickly, as if the sound itself burned. I let my hand drop, though every part of me ached at the loss. Her eyes flicked to the screen, then to me, then back. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. Whoever it was, someone who shouldn't know. Someone who couldn't. "You should go," she said softly. But her body didn't move. My pulse hammered. I should have listened. Instead, I stepped in again, slower this time, like testing fragile glass. Close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from her, see the way her breath faltered in her chest. "Tell me to stop," I whispered. Her lips parted, words almost forming, but they caught somewhere in her throat. She turned slightly, like she wanted to escape the gravity between us, but instead her shoulder brushed mine, lingering. Too long. The phone buzzed again. We both jumped. This time she grabbed it, pressing it face down onto the counter, cutting the light, killing the sound. Her hand trembled as she pulled it back. It's reckless," she breathed. "Maybe," I said. "But do you feel reckless?" Her eyes darted up, sharp, alive. The answer was there, unspoken. She didn't want me to name it. A sound in the hall, footsteps. Too close. We both froze. Her hand gripped my wrist suddenly, pulling me toward the narrow space between the shelves and the wall. Shadows swallowed us as the footsteps passed, slow, dragging. Someone lingered outside the door. We both held our breath. In that stolen silence, pressed too close in the dark, her body was against mine. I could feel the curve of her shoulder, the warmth of her breath fanning across my collar. My hand rested instinctively against the small of her back, steadying her though she wasn't moving. The footsteps faded. A door shut somewhere down the hall. We didn't move. Her eyes lifted, so close now that I could see the faint flecks of green in the brown. My gaze dropped, just for a second, to her lips. She saw it. Her hand tightened on my wrist. Her breath caught. For one impossible heartbeat, the space between us vanished, charged, waiting. I leaned in. So did she. And then she turned, just barely, enough to keep our mouths from meeting. Her forehead brushed mine instead, a soft collision that hurt more than any rejection. "This can't happen," she whispered, her voice cracking like she didn't even believe it herself. My hand stayed on her back. Her grip stayed on my wrist. Neither of us let go. Not yet. She stayed in my arms longer than either of us could excuse. Her forehead still against mine, her breath warm and uneven. I could taste the hesitation between us, thick as smoke. Then she pushed gently at my chest, not hard enough to make me move, just enough to remind me she could. "This isn't right," she said. "Then why are you still here?" My voice was rough, too low, like it had been dragged out of me. Her eyes narrowed, but not with anger, with the kind of frustration that comes from wanting what you're trying not to want. "You're just a boy," she whispered. "Then why do you tremble when I touch you?" Her breath hitched, audible this time. I lifted my hand, slow, deliberate, and brushed a loose strand of hair back from her face. My fingers lingered longer than they should have, grazing her temple, tucking the hair behind her ear. She closed her eyes for the briefest moment. When they opened again, there was no shield left. Just raw, terrifying honesty. "You don't know what I've lost," she said. "What it costs to let someone close. Then let me pay it with you." Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her hand rose. I thought she was going to push me away again, but instead, she set it against my chest, right over my heart. Her palm flat, her fingers curled ever so slightly as if holding me there. I covered her hand with mine, pressing it tighter. My other arm slid around her waist, not pulling, just steadying, grounding. "You make me feel." She stopped, shaking her head as though the words were too dangerous to release. I leaned down, so close my mouth brushed against her hair as I whispered, "Say it." Her whole body shivered against me. The silence stretched, a taut wire between us. Then, almost too quietly to hear, "Alive." It undid me. I tilted her chin up with my hand, slow enough for her to stop me, but she didn't. Her eyes met mine, wide and uncertain, but she didn't look away. Every part of me screamed to close the distance. I could smell the faint trace of her perfume, feel the warmth radiating from her skin. My thumb traced the line of her jaw. Her lips parted, breath catching as if she was already waiting for me. "Tell me you don't want this," I whispered. Her answer was a whisper against my mouth, so close it burned. "I can't." I bent closer, barely an inch between us now, when the sound came. A sharp knock at the door. We both froze. She didn't move away. Neither did I. Her eyes, wide and dark, locked on mine as the knocking came again. And in that fragile heartbeat, balanced between desire and discovery, I knew something had already broken loose, something we couldn't take back. The knocking stopped, but it left a ringing silence behind. We didn't move, didn't breathe. Then a voice, muffled through the door. "I know you're in there." Her whole body stiffened. My grip loosened instantly, though I didn't step back. Her hand pressed against my chest, not pushing, just holding me at that fragile distance. The voice again, sharper this time. A woman's. "You're not answering me? Fine." Footsteps stormed away down the hall. She exhaled, shaky, pulling her hand back like it had burned her. "Who was that?" I asked. She shook her head, refusing to meet my eyes. "It doesn't matter." But it did. The tremor in her fingers as she brushed them over her mouth said everything. Whoever it was, they mattered enough to make her retreat into herself. "Tell me," I pressed. Her gaze snapped to mine, sharp and wounded. "A friend. One who would tear this apart if she knew." Something heavy lodged in my chest. The risk had always been there, unspoken. Now it had a name, a voice outside the door. She turned away, running a hand through her hair, pacing toward the counter. The movement was restless, agitated. Her shoulder brushed mine as she passed, too close, too fast. "You think this is just about us," she said, voice low. "But people notice. People talk. And me." She stopped, her hands gripping the edge of the counter as if to keep herself from shaking. "I've already been called foolish once. I can't." Her words fractured, unfinished. I stepped closer, unable to stop myself. "You care what they say more than what you feel." Her head dropped. Silence. Then she turned, sudden and raw, her eyes blazing. "Do you think I don't feel this? Do you think I don't lie awake, knowing I shouldn't want you but—" She cut herself off, biting her lip as though she'd revealed too much. That single word hung between us, want. My throat tightened. I moved in, my hand brushing hers where it gripped the counter. She didn't pull away. Her body leaned, just slightly, into mine, like gravity had betrayed her. Her breath shuddered out, warm against my cheek. Her hand twitched, then slid against mine, fingers barely hooking around my knuckles. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "So let it be." Our fingers intertwined, slow, deliberate, as if signing a pact neither of us could undo. She stared at me, chest rising and falling too quickly, lips parted as though she was about to cross the line herself. Then she did something I didn't expect. She tugged her hand free and stepped back, but not out of reach. Her voice shook as she said, "If we do this, we don't get to pretend it was a mistake." The room stilled. No escape left. And I knew the next move would change everything. Her words stayed between us like smoke. "We don't get to pretend it was a mistake." I took a step toward her. She didn't retreat this time. The distance between us was a breath, nothing more. Her hands hovered at her sides, clenched, as if she was holding herself still against the pull. My chest rose and fell too fast, each inhale brushing against her exhale, the air thick and fragile. "You want me to step away?" I asked. My voice came out low, husky, barely mine. Her eyes flickered. She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "I should. But you don't." Her lips parted again, trembling. "No." That single word cracked everything open. I lifted my hand, slow, deliberate, fingers tracing the line of her arm. Goosebumps followed my touch. She shivered, not from cold. Her head tilted up, drawn like a tide. "Say it," I whispered. She shook her head, but her body betrayed her. Her hand rose, trembling, brushing lightly against my chest, then sliding up to my shoulder. She leaned in, just enough that I felt her warmth, her perfume wrapping around me, dizzying. "I can't." Her voice broke. "Stop thinking about you." The admission shattered the last barrier between us. I cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. She closed her eyes, leaning into my palm as though she'd been waiting years for it. Her breath ghosted against my lips, ragged, uneven. "This is it," she whispered, eyes opening again, meeting mine with raw honesty. "If we cross this line, I can't go back." "Neither can I," I said. The silence that followed was deafening. A heartbeat, too. Then she rose onto her toes, almost without meaning to, her lips grazing mine. Not a kiss, not yet, just the electric edge of one. I froze, not out of doubt, but reverence. My arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her flush against me. She gasped, a sharp, helpless sound, her hands gripping my shirt. And then the distance was gone. Her mouth met mine, urgent and trembling, a kiss that wasn't neat or careful but real, messy, filled with everything we'd been swallowing back. It broke against us like a wave, relief, hunger, fear, all tangled together. When she pulled back, breathless, her forehead pressed against mine, she laughed, soft, broken. Not mockery. Release. "I told myself I wouldn't," she whispered. "And I told myself I couldn't," I said. "But here we are." Her hands slid down my arms, holding me, steadying herself. She looked up at me with eyes stripped bare, no walls left. "Now you know," she said. And I did. Completely. Why heavy checkmark prompt 7, the conclusion, emotional resolution, 500 words, writing prompt, close the story in a sensual but satisfying way. Instructions, resolve all threads, fears, doubts, and the age gap hesitation. Let the ending feel warm, believable, and sensual, maybe a long hug, a hand intertwined, a forehead kiss, or sitting close together at last. Avoid over-formality. Keep it natural and human. End with them together in a clear, emotionally fulfilling resolution. Close with these engagement questions for YouTube. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? The kiss still lingered between us, a taste neither of us could deny. Her hands slid down slowly, still clutching the fabric of my shirt as though afraid I might vanish if she let go. Her forehead rested against mine, her breath uneven, words caught on the edge of confession. "I told myself 1,000 reasons why this can't happen. And still," I whispered, my thumb brushing her cheek, "we're here." She closed her eyes, the smallest smile tugging at her lips. Not relief, not victory, something softer. Acceptance. I'm older, she said, voice quieter now, steadier. People will talk. Let them, I answered, pulling her closer. I don't want them. I want you. Her body trembled against mine, but she didn't step back this time. She leaned into me, resting her head on my chest. My arms wrapped around her fully, holding her the way I'd been aching to since the first moment. The world outside faded, the hallway, the knocking, the whispers of what others might say. All that was left was her heartbeat, steady against me, syncing with mine. You make it sound simple, she murmured. It is, I said. Complicated. Messy. But simple. Her laugh slipped out, soft and unguarded, the kind that made my chest ache in the best way. I tilted her chin up gently, pressing a kiss to her forehead, not rushed, not hungry, just a promise. Her fingers laced with mine, squeezing tight. If we do this, she said, echoing her earlier words, we do it together. No pretending. No running. Together, I repeated, sealing it. We sank down onto the couch, still close, her shoulder pressed against mine, our hands still locked. No firework ending, no grand declarations. Just warmth. Just the kind of closeness that didn't need to shout to be real. She looked at me sideways, a smile flickering at the corner of her mouth. You're still too bold. And you still love every second of it, I said. Her smile deepened, her hand tightening around mine. This time, she didn't argue. The quiet wrapped around us, not heavy now, but safe. For the first time, there was no need to fill it with excuses or hesitation. I leaned back, her head finding its place against my shoulder. And in that simple closeness, no stolen shadows, no interrupted whispers, we both knew. We weren't pretending anymore.